Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe. Chronicles of a Gooner. Harry Symeou time. Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal. Chronicles of a Gooner.
This podcast is brought to you in partnership with okjersey.com. Looking for football shirts? Head over to okjersey.com and enter the discount code Harry for 8% off. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast with me, your host, Harry Symeou. Happy Sunday to you all. Yes, we are coming to you live for a full podcast on a match day. You might be thinking, what the hell is going on here? Well, I did explain that I was going to do this in the lead up to this game. I am traveling tomorrow. I've got a pretty long flight that leaves in the morning. So I figured if I didn't do this tonight, if we didn't get the full episode recorded, you'd probably have to wait until evening UK time to get it. And I figured that is not really acceptable, is it? I know I've not always been that reliable when it comes to scheduling and sticking to a plan, etc., etc. And I've told you guys in recent days that it's been a little bit all over the place, our show times, for various reasons. So apologies if this stream or this episode release has caught you off guard. If you want to wait and listen to it when it would normally come out, that's also fine. But I am here to react to Arsenal's 4-1 victory down at Fratton Park in the FA Cup, a victory that sees Arsenal progress to the fourth round of the competition for the first time in 3 years. Because in the last 2 years, Arsenal were eliminated at the third round stage. Yes, it was against Liverpool and against Manchester United, but at the third time of asking, we have made that step from round 3 to round 4. Now, when you consider Arsenal's rich history in this competition, the fact that we start this FA Cup campaign with the hope that we're going to make it 15 FA Cups, it's mad to think that we've not progressed beyond the third round, which is, unless you get a Premier League side, and obviously we have faced Premier League sides in each of those two occasions, but normally the big boys get through, don't they? Normally the big boys make it to round 4. We haven't even been able to do that in recent years. So look, we're back in the fourth round draw for the first time in a while, which is good news. And I think the fact that we've gone down to Fratton Park. Now, I said in the lead up to this game, okay, that it was going to be difficult. I said in the lead up to this game that it wouldn't be as straightforward as some people thought. And I know the scoreline tells a very different story, but I think for those that watch the game, you'd be lying if you said that, sort of 10 minutes into this game, just before Arsenal equalised, you weren't a little bit worried. Like, you weren't a little bit panicked by the fact that Portsmouth had come out 100 miles an hour, on fire, closing us down, winning duels, fighting, battling, you name it, they were doing it. You'd be lying if you said, as an Arsenal fan, that in that first 10 minutes, you wasn't a little bit concerned. I was commentating on the game with former Arsenal midfielder David Hillier. We both really, really enjoyed the game. Really enjoyed the game. It was a proper FA Cup tie, wasn't it? It was a bit of a throwback, old school ground, down on the south coast, fans on top of the pitch, fans making a lot of noise, flying challenges all over the place, physicality, duels, collisions, you name it, it had it. I thought this was a belter of an FA Cup tie. I really, really did. And I know that it wasn't the result that the neutrals were after, which is why they might disagree with me calling it a belter of an FA Cup tie. But for us, it was perfect. We got exactly what we wanted, which was a commanding victory in the end. We got minutes for players that haven't had enough of them of late. We saw the return of Kai Havertz. Gabriel Martinelli responds to what's happened over the last few days with a hat-trick. Marley Salmon makes his FA Cup debut. There's loads and loads and loads to be pleased about as an Arsenal fan. But we're going to start with the team selection. Now, Mikel made 10 changes to the side that drew against Liverpool on Thursday. I said to you guys in the build-up to this game that I would like 11 changes, but I didn't think it was possible to make 11 changes without weakening us too much. Like, for example, I wanted to leave Saliba out. Gabriel's probably the one of the two centre-halves I would have played just based on load in recent weeks. Christian Norgard came in at right centre-back, but you're not exactly going to partner him up with Marley Salmon. I don't think that would be wise. Timber needed a break, no question about that in my mind. And so the only survivor from the team that played on Thursday night was Gabriel. Everybody else, fresh legs, fresh impetus. But what that does is it puts you in a place, doesn't it, where sometimes those connections aren't there, and it takes a little bit of time for those connections to start working. It takes a little bit of time for that familiarity with those around you and for your understanding of what those players like to do in certain situations and in certain moments to sort of to click into gear. So I was expecting something of a disjointed performance. I thought in the early stages of the game, where Portsmouth were high, were pressing, were aggressive, I thought we kept trying to play our normal game, like pass the ball out from the back. And I just didn't think this was the day necessarily to be doing that. I think that contributed to them having the moments that they did. But it was a really tough atmosphere, really, really tough atmosphere. I've been down to Fratton Park many years ago now. And I've always found it a pretty loud and sort of interesting place, shall we say, to watch your football. What I will say about sort of the lead up to the game and going into the build up to the game was that those Portsmouth fans were in there nice and early, making noise, getting behind their team. The famous Portsmouth bell. There's that very, very famous Portsmouth fan. I'm sure you caught a glimpse of him on your TV screens a number of times. That's, always there and always behind the team. And you saw them score, right? And it's weird because obviously I want Arsenal to win and obviously I want Arsenal to progress. But the football fan in me kind of enjoyed the fact that Portsmouth scored first, in that it gave us something to kind of fight back from, show our character, an opportunity to do that. But for the neutral, that's the kind of moment that you want, isn't it? And it's very rare that those moments then develop into the outcome and the result that you want, with the exception of maybe Macclesfield yesterday, producing that unbelievable result against Crystal Palace. But I think for the neutrals, you got your moment in that Portsmouth scored, the place erupted, great. But then for Arsenal fans, we got to see our team sort of switch it up a couple of gears and then essentially in the end cruise past this Portsmouth side. The goal that we conceded, you got to look at Noni Madueke. The ball was sent out to him on the right-hand side. He's dispossessed way too easily. The ball comes inside. The effort at goal is well saved by Kepa, and then it falls to Bishop, who taps it in from, or I'll say taps it in. He finished it quite well, actually. Sort of just guided it with plenty of venom on the half volley into the back of the net and put Portsmouth in front. Thankfully, Arsenal were able to hit back and strike back quite quickly. And I think in these types of games, that's really, really important. Because when you hit back straight away, you've sort of reduced the positive influence that Portsmouth goal has. Because what happens is, as a football team, you go out into a game like that. John Mousinho was talking about the game in the lead up, and he was quite like, we're going to give it our all and we're really excited about this and it's a massive occasion and all the rest of it. But he was quite, I think, keen to put across the fact that he knows that this is one hell of an uphill battle for his team. He knew that his team were probably going to struggle with Arsenal, generally speaking, and he knew that Arsenal were likely to win this, regardless of how many changes they were going to make. And the reason I say that the first goal is really important and the fact that we didn't allow that lead to last that long is significant in the way the game went, is because if you're a Portsmouth player, you start the game quite brightly, quite well. You score a goal, your confidence starts to grow. And it grows and it grows and it grows and it builds and it builds and it builds. But Arsenal go down the other end just a few minutes later, score, and essentially burst your bubble, pop your balloon, whatever you want to call it, right? And that is really, really significant, I think, in the way that this game went. Set piece FC, ole, ole, was the chant from some of the Arsenal fans. And rightly so, because we were devastating today, weren't we, from set pieces. The first one is a delivery from Eberici Eze from Arsenal's left-hand side. Into the box it goes. A bit of a scramble. In the end, it was a Dazelle own goal. Although at the time, I thought that Christian Norgard was the one that got the touch and that put it in the back of the net. So Arsenal back on level terms, 1-1. And then we get another one before half-time. A delivery in towards the near post area from Noni Madueke, glanced on by Gabriel Martinelli. Brilliant header, but it was all about the delivery. and into the back of the net it goes, and Arsenal 2 goals to the good. 2-1 up, I beg your pardon, and in a really good, strong position to move forward. Now, Noni Madueke, whose corner was wonderful, really, really wonderful. Oh, Man United just got a player sent off. They have. They've made it 2-1 against Brighton, and Shea Lacey's just been sent off. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, Noni Madueke's delivery was brilliant for Arsenal's second goal. And I was saying to David Hillier, we were doing the commentary together, and I was saying the thing I really like and admire about Noni Madueke, right, is that you look at him, left-footed winger, plays on the right side. What do you expect? You expect him most of the time to want to cut inside people. You expect him most of the time to want to come on the inside that little bit earlier. Yet he's got this incredible and amazing ability to go around the outside of people, get to the byline, get himself beyond the byline using his pace and his strength so that then he can come across it. And that makes him really, really difficult to deal with. And he caused Swanson at left back all sorts of problems. So he does one of those brilliant runs. He gets in behind. Swanson has a little pullback. Referee blows a whistle, points to the spot. Arsenal penalty. And Arsenal have an opportunity on the stroke of half time to increase their lead to 3-1 and essentially put the game to bed. Madueke steps up, sends the goalkeeper completely the wrong way, but manages to somehow drag his effort wide. And I was a little bit worried at that point. Not that we didn't have the quality to go on and win the game, not that we were going to collapse, but I felt like going 2-1 up, what it had done was not completely silence the Fratton Park crowd, because that would take some doing. But what it did was it just took the wind out of their sails a little bit. And it's a fine line in moments like that, because you can either go 3-1 up, completely kill them off, or you miss the penalty, as we do, which just gives them a bit of belief and a bit of encouragement again. And I think Portsmouth deserve a lot of credit for the fight, the way they battled, the energy levels, the way they pressed us. It is worth noting, by the way, they hadn't played in 11 days because their last championship fixture was frozen off. It was postponed due to a frozen pitch against Ipswich. So they had a little bit longer to, in fact, they had a lot longer to prepare for this game and recover from their last one, etc., etc. But I just worried, like going back to that point I was saying about, you sort of cancel out a lead nice and early. What that does is it stops the confidence and belief growing. Well, that confidence and belief that was maybe rotting as far as Portsmouth were concerned was probably sparked back into life by the fact that we missed this penalty. So I'll be lying if I said that going in at halftime, I wasn't a little bit disappointed with Noni Madueke's penalty and the fact that he was unable to convert that. I was worried about what that might mean. But again, Arsenal come out in the second half and Arsenal look much, much better, much more comfortable, much more confident. There was a period at the start of the second half where Portsmouth were trying to knock the door down, where Ben White was having to deal with Segecic, who had come over to the left-hand side because of, them having to make some changes and sort of shaking it up due to an injury just before the break. And we get a set piece. In it comes. It's Martinelli. No, sorry. The third goal, I beg your pardon, was... Am I right in saying this? Was hold on, I've lost my train of thought. The third goal was the Gabriel Jesus brilliant ball across into Gabriel Martinelli. That's right. So we've ridden the early storm of that second half. And then we've taken a free kick really quickly. It's really smart. Portsmouth caught napping, and Gabriel Jesus plays this beautiful ball across the 6-yard box and into that far post area where Gabriel Martinelli's arriving to finish it. Gabriel Martinelli's really good at timing his runs to get on the end of things. You have to say that. But the bit that I want to highlight there is A, the thinking to take the free kick quickly, which I think was really, really important in that goal. But B, Gabriel Jesus's pass. Now, we've had countless debates, and I'm recording a Patreon bit straight after this. So it'll be with you within the hour. Make sure you check it out. We've had countless debates about Victor Gyökeres in recent weeks. And I know he didn't play today, but there is a relevance to this. We talk about the fact that the goals aren't going in necessarily for him. But in terms of his all-round game, we're not getting enough. say what you want about Gabriel Jesus as a finisher, okay? And I'd probably agree with you in a lot of cases. But Gabriel Jesus brings a capacity to create from that centre forward role as a false type 9 that Victor Gyökeres just doesn't. And Kai Havertz comes on late in the game and there was some tidy touches and some nice movement. And there was a lot of reasons to be encouraged about the impact that he can have when he comes back. But let's be honest with ourselves. He came on when the game was done away at a championship side. Okay. So I don't want to run before we're walking when it comes to Kai Havertz. We've got to be careful. We need to manage him in terms of his fitness, his recovery, etc., right? But I just think sometimes, people say you miss something when it's gone. And I just want to say that I don't think we missed anything in that centre forward position today without Victor Gyökeres being in there. Now, did I think Jesus was great throughout the game? Probably not. I thought there were moments where he was a little bit frustrating, where some of his decision making, in my opinion, was wrong, where we'd get to the byline. Noni Madueke, most notably, look for the cutback and Jesus wouldn't be in there because he's elsewhere having done something else in the build-up. It's not that it's wrong. It's just different. And he plays that centre forward role in a really, really different way. But every now and again, you get a glimpse of the technical level that some of our other players have that Victor Gyökeres doesn't. And so I don't think, even though he didn't play, this was a great afternoon for Victor Gyökeres because Jesus does what he does. And, Havertz comes off the bench and looks quite tidy and looks like his movement's on point, looks like he understands where he needs to be and at what times and at what points and in which scenarios. And I just think it kind of shone a light a little bit on what we're missing when Victor Gyökeres is in the team. Now, there'll be others that say, well, look at our record with versus without Gyökeres. I'd argue there's other factors that contribute to that record looking the way that it does. But still, my point is that, if you are sitting there thinking Jesus or Havertz have to be first pick in that centre forward position moving forward, it's not a wild opinion. It's not a wild view to have at all. Looks like Manchester United have gone out of the FA Cup. They have. I thought it was all Ruben Amorim's fault. Anyway, just on Martinelli, right? Because we talk about the hat-trick. It's very, very unlike Gabriel Martinelli to score a hat-trick from, with two of them being set-piece goals. Very, very unlike him. But I just thought this was a great way to respond after some really unfair commentary around him since Thursday. We've talked about the Conor Bradley incident at length. It does look like Conor Bradley's going to be out for a while, and we do wish him all the best and a speedy recovery. And I'm sure Gabby Martinelli has done the same thing. As I said at the time, I didn't really have an issue with people criticizing his behavior in that isolated incident. I had an issue with what felt like a bit of a character assassination that was going on with regards to Gabriel Martinelli. And the truth is, he's never given anyone any reason in the past to believe that he is that type of character, yet people wanted to run with it. And you know why they wanted to run with it? Because they know it brings clicks, because they know it sparks discussion, it sparks debate, etc., etc. I expect that from the online space, which I'm a part of, but I don't expect it from the mainstream media. I think there's a responsibility, particularly with ex-pros, to provide us with a bit of an insight, show us behind the curtain. What is a footballer feeling in that time? And if any of those pundits and ex-players and whatever legitimately felt that Gabriel Martinelli was seeking to hurt Conor Bradley the other day, it's ridiculous. Martinelli's behavior wasn't great. We've discussed that. We've covered it off before. But he showed his class today, and he showed that he was able to put all of that behind him. And I suspect that if you're someone like Gabriel Martinelli, who, is honest, is humble, is down to earth, if you're reading things about you for a few days which you feel are unfair, it can weigh really, really heavy. So to go out and score a hat-trick today the way he did, that's a testament to the young man's character. And everybody that knows him and everybody that understands the game truly understands what Gabriel Martinelli was thinking there and why he did what he did. He did not try to injure Conor Bradley. He's not the cause of Conor Bradley's injury. So I think if I'm the Arsenal boss and Mikel Arteta was right to highlight Arne Slot's comments. He said that they were really good. He's absolutely right. He said that Arne Slot understands the game. You know, he understands how players feel. He understands what can happen in the heat of the moment. And Mikel was right to come out and I think and bring those comments back to the surface. But listen, this will pass. It will blow over for Gabriel Martinelli. But he's got a hat trick in the FA Cup, and that must be an incredible feeling. I think that's 9 goals now for Gabriel Martinelli this season. So, you know, people have been critical of him, and there was a big discussion and debate in the summer around whether or not he should continue to be Arsenal's left winger. I think he's done a really, really good job this season of contributing key goals in big moments. Obviously, those stats are a little bit padded by the fact that he's got 3 today, but it's still a really, really good return for this stage in the season. We're just over the halfway stage and he's got 9. If he was to get 15, I think that would be a really good return for Arsenal's left winger. Right, we're going to take a really, really short pause, and when we come back, we've got loads more to unpack from today's game down at Fratton Park.
You are listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe.
That's right. You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe. Good to have you with us. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, please do leave us a review. If you're listening on Patreon, thank you very, very much. If you're watching us on YouTube, whether that's live or in a little bit later on, if you're watching this back on playback or whatever, please do leave us a like, a hype, and all the rest of it, and subscribe to the channel. All of that stuff, guys, it really, really does help. And again, apologies if I've caught you out with the streaming time. As I mentioned, I am traveling tomorrow and will not be able to record a podcast until God knows what time. So I figured we'd do this tonight. I finished commentating on the game, come home, had a quick bit of dinner with the family, recording this now, recording a Patreon bit afterwards. Big thanks to the patrons that have signed up over the last few days. Again, apologies that the schedule on that has been a little bit out of sorts of late, but we will get back on track, I am sure. Okay, so guitar solo just on my Martinelli comment. I mean, there are some people that literally want to have a moan about every single aspect of everything I say. How are the stats padded when he has 5 goals in 5 UCL games? Eza has 4 goals with 3 coming from Spurs. You never see his stats are padded. I don't think I've ever had a conversation about Eza's stats and how they stack up this season. Because when I've talked about Eberici Eza this season, for the most part, I've been a little bit disappointed with his all-round overall contribution in games. That's what I want to see more of. If the stats are as they are, but there's more all-round contribution, I can take that. I haven't got an issue with that. When I say Martinelli's stats are padded, well, if a third of his goal return was scored in one game, then that is, in a way, telling a slightly different story. There's nothing wrong with highlighting that, I don't think, anyway. I just want to talk about a couple of other players. Noni Madueke, as I mentioned, really, really lively. Should have scored, missed the penalty, but I love the way he takes people out on the, or takes people on, I should say, on the outside, even when he's playing on that right side where he naturally, you'd imagine, want to cut in on that left foot. It felt to me like that penalty miss didn't really affect him. And that's good. That's a good sign. People call it arrogance. I call it confidence. And I think you need a bit of confidence. You need that ability to be able to bounce back from a scenario in a situation like that. I think it's also easier to process that penalty miss when your team is in front than it would be if you were behind or looking for a leveler, etc., etc. But I thought it was lively again. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who, for me, was Arsenal's unsung hero today. And I know I've seen a few people online highlighting Christian Norgar's performance at centre-back, which I thought was pretty good. Kepa made some smart stops. Thought he had a decent game as well. But the unsung hero for Arsenal, for me today, is Mikel Merino. Mikel Merino played as a kind of 6 in that first half. He was the one dropping deep and going and getting the ball off the centre halves. He was the one that was providing that screen. He was the one that was putting himself about just that little bit more in order to platform a very attack-minded rest of our midfield in Eza and Nwaneri. I thought Mikel Merino showed a lot of maturity today. He was wearing the captain's armband. Very, very intelligent player. And it's kind of surprising, actually, that he was wearing the armband when you consider Gabriel was on the pitch. That did sort of take me aback a little bit. But then you think about it, you think about where Mourinho is stationed on the pitch, the fact that he can see everything, the fact that he's got the bigger picture all around him, that he can feel the game maybe a little bit more, playing in the heart of it in midfield, and the way he's able to just adapt from one role to the other. You know, he was playing as a 6, then he started playing as a bit of an 8. Then at times he was playing, right up close to Kai Havertz when he came on. His adaptability is just really and truly incredible. And I think he was the unsung hero today. I've had a look at a few websites, player ratings. He's among Arsenal's best. But I would argue that in terms of his all-round game, and I know it's kind of a difficult case to make when Gabriel Martinelli scores a hat-trick, but I thought his all-round game was outstanding, and I'd make him Arsenal's man of the match for me. What we'll do is we'll quickly run through the team, actually, and just share some thoughts on each player. Let me just bring the team up in front of me so that I make sure I'm not missing anyone. Yep, confirmation, Manchester United are out of the FA Cup. They went out of the League Cup at the hands of Grimsby. So there's no chance of silverware for Manchester United, is there? Okay, so Kepa in goal, I thought did well, made a few smart stops. Looked relatively comfortable with the ball at his feet when you consider the way that Pompey were pressing us. Ben White, I thought, was good for the most part, made some really important contributions defensively in that second half. Once he picked up a yellow card, though, he was always going to have to be taken off. Norgard looked solid without being outstanding, but I don't think he needed to be outstanding, nor do I expect him to be when he's clearly playing out of position. Gabriel Magalhaes, solid enough, happy to be confronted with a physical test like today's game. The thing I love about Gabby, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, is that he's adaptable in the way that we deal with the ball once we win it back. So what I mean by that is, if you want him to get on the ball, step forward, step into a kind of midfield type area and try and distribute through the lines, he's absolutely fine to do that. But he's also happy to play that one-touch clearance kind of game that was needed at times in the early stages. Left back, Miles Lewis-Skelly. I'm not going to lie. I struggled with his performance. I looked at it and I thought, if there is one area, if there is one problem in this team, if there is one weakness that I would be looking to exploit if I was John Mousinho in Portsmouth, it would be Miles Lewis-Skelly. He just doesn't look anywhere near as assured defensively as he did last season, and that's a concern. I've talked about Mikel Marino. For me, he's probably the man of the match. Ethan Nwaneri, lively, liked some of his touches, enjoyed some of his little feints, the dropping of the shoulder, the changing of direction, all really, really good. And was a little bit more physical today, I thought. I felt like he put himself about a little bit more. I've said in the past that I think one of the reasons he's not been playing as much is probably because, off the ball, he generally doesn't give you as much as some of the others. I think that's a message that's been passed on, and I thought he made a conscious effort to improve on that today. So fair play to him. Eberechi Eze, what do we make of his performance? I just think in a game where we've got so much of the ball, where we're as dominant as we were, I just want to see him do a little bit more. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. Like, people will take it the wrong way and they'll say, how can you say that about him? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not slating the guy. I didn't think today we saw Eze at his best. And I really felt like for him, especially with Odegaard out of the team, there was an opportunity to kind of really take on that responsibility of chief creator and chief attacking midfielder. And I'm not sure that he did. It felt like, and this is well put, I think. This is a comment from the live chat. Eze has that Emile Smith-Rowe trait where they kind of let the game pass them by without imposing themselves or demanding the ball. Buckleberry Returns says Eze didn't need to wash his kit after the game. Yeah, I was a bit underwhelmed by him. I'm not going to lie. Madueke, I've touched on. Martinelli, we've talked about already. Gabriel Jesus, I thought did quite well. Produced that assist, but also some other tidy touches. Just links up with people a hell of a lot better. And that's the thing with Gabby Jesus. I know what he is as a centre forward. You know what he is as a centre forward. We've got to stop thinking that when he plays, he's going to turn into prime Erling Haaland. He's not. But in terms of stringing things together and in terms of connecting our forward play, he's so good at that. So effective at that. Odegaard, Havertz and Timber all came on at the same time. Great to see Kai Havertz back, one of Arsenal's most important players over the last couple of years, and we've had to be without him for a really, really long time. So I'm delighted that he's back. Hopefully he recovers fine and he can play some part in that semi-final first leg against Chelsea on Wednesday night. That would be good, wouldn't it? That would be really, really good. Okay. Who else do we want to talk about? A couple of more substitutes. Marley Salmon came on, which was amazing to see. 16 years old, making his FA Cup debut. Great. I think he's Arsenal's youngest ever player to feature in the FA Cup now. I think I read that somewhere, which is obviously great for him. Look, I want to summarize before I sign out tonight, because this is one of those games, right, where you can be guilty of overanalyzing it. And that's why I'm kind of conscious of stopping myself short of doing this. When you make that many changes, there's not that much you can analyze. You can't really analyze pairings and connections because they simply don't exist. You can't really, argue about the shape being slightly different or the tendencies among the players to be slightly different, because different players with different personalities, with different outlooks, are going to go about executing the manager's instructions in slightly different ways. And when you factor in that it's not a team that is gelled together, you're going to have issues, struggles. And I've said this before, Mikel has to figure out and has to be able to roll the dice in the right scenarios and in the right situations in order for us to find that balance between keeping people fit, rested, and ready to go for the biggest of games, and also, making sure that we're not rotating too heavily to the point where it's to our detriment. So I think these are all really, really interesting discussion points. But in terms of the performance, I don't think you can analyze too much. I think we're great from set pieces. We already know that. Credit to the players, to the team, because they delivered a very similar set piece on multiple occasions. It came off on multiple occasions. I just wonder if Arsenal had spotted something in the build-up to this game about the way that Portsmouth defend their front post and seek to exploit it. Great night for Gabriel Martinelli. Great night for Marley Salmon. Brilliant night for Kai Havertz and for us to see him back. And we're through to the next round. We're in the hat. That's what matters. We await the draw for the next round eagerly. And hopefully we'll get a decent one and potentially progress through to the fifth round of this very famous old cup competition. It is a cup competition that has such a big role in our prestigious history as a football club. I hate it when people completely write it off. I hate it when people dismiss it. Are there games that are at times boring? Are there games at times in this competition, particularly in these early stages, that are at times too one-sided? Yeah, there absolutely is. Nothing's perfect. But I love the FA Cup, and I'm delighted to say Arsenal have moved through to the next round. Right, I'm going to sign out. Love you and leave you. Thank you all so much for joining me. Remember, there's a Patreon pod on its way to you, so that should be out within about half an hour's time. Keep your eyes peeled for that, and I'll see you all the next time from Cyprus. Looking forward to it. Catch you then. Goodbye.
Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe. Chronicles of a Gooner. Harry Symeou time. Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal. Chronicles of a Gooner.